Today at Suspension Maxx, we're discussing the 2017 GMC Yukon Denali XL. The first thing I want to tell you about this, it has the magnetic ride control. And that's identifiable by an actuating rod right here, connected to the brake line bracket, going up to this control sensor that gives exactly the feedback of the control arm angle and the velocity of the control arm. There's also a wire connector at the top, which is located on the center of the strut rod, going down and energizing the magnetic strut. There's also wiring connected just stationary to the top of the three mounting studs. Now, this is a coil spring suspended vehicle. A lot of people are confused thinking that this rubber boot is actually an airbag. It is not. This vehicle does not have air ride struts. It is a coil spring suspension with magnetically controlled shock absorbers. We'll show you all about the disassembly and reassembly, including our patented bracket that's going to put the magnetic ride sensor back in the factory location. Disconnect this little lock for this ABS cable, and that's done with a screwdriver blade so that we have a little bit of slack in the cable. Step 2 is remove the pump rod for the sensor. That's done with a 10mm open end wrench. Okay, now we're going to just leave that free right now. Removing the wire loom clips from the top of the strut. Just pry them straight up. There's 3 in position. This is the magnetic ride control wire for the center of the magnetic ride strut. Pull the clip out, push down on the gray connector, and it comes off. Once we disconnect here, then we simply use a screwdriver blade to pry this off. We're going to remove the 2 lower strut mounting bolts, 15mm socket. Okay, we're going to use an 18mm ratchet wrench to remove the top strut nuts. We've removed the 3 top nuts, we've disconnected the wiring, we've removed the 2 lower strut bolts. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to push the strut in, and it's going to come down gently, being sure not to damage this wiring when you're guiding it through the access hole. Now that's ready to go. That strut can be taken completely out of the vehicle, and there it is. Now with Suspension Maxx, you get up to 4 of these shims based on your ride height. We're going to install it with 1 shim. It's going to go right there. This Yukon Denali needs to be lifted 1 3/4 of an inch, which would be our spacer, 1 shim at the top, and our designated lift spacer at the bottom. Now we're going to reinstall it. Gently lift the strut back into the vehicle, being sure not to damage anything. Bring it around here. Place the wire back up inside the vehicle and slowly bring the studs back through. Reassemble it with the new hardware supplied. And we're almost there. We're going to pull down on the suspension by putting the pry bar between the frame pocket by the rear of the lower control arm and the sway bar, and pull down on it gently to help get the needed space for the lower Suspension Maxx MAXXstak spacer. This is the Suspension Maxx Magnetic Ride Relocation bracket. There's dedicated holes at the bottom and a dedicated threaded hole for 1 inch or 1 1/2, and the other holes are for 1 3/4, 2, 2 1/4, or 2 1/2. This bracket is designed to bolt onto the existing bracket and then reposition the pump actuator rod in the desired hole, matching the suspension max lift. This bracket is not sold individually, it is only purchased with the kit. Reconnect the wiring to the control arm. Remember to refasten all the wire loom connectors back on the strut bolts and reconnect the sensor for the magnetic ride. We just finished the Suspension MAXXstak leveling kit, number GM725M, the magnetic ride kit for the new Yukon Denalis with magnetic ride control. This vehicle is completely stock, has our kit in it. Our patented brackets reposition the ride sensors so that the computer and the magnetic ride control sensors are back to their factory stock locations. We're going to show you how it rides. Same speed, same bumps, same drive. Just like factory. No ride control lights, no service suspension lights, no recalibration. We're riding over the railroad tracks right now. A little dip because of the unevenness, but excellent ride quality. If you're lifting a truck up with some other kit and you've got that super ultra stiff ride, you're going to break something. You need to do your $80,000 Yukon right. Choose Suspension Max.